Welcome to the Ringer Gambling Show, sponsored by FanDuel. I'm the prop queen, Ariel. It is Thursday, which means we are kicking off the next week of the NFL season. Week 7 already. I cannot believe it. Raheem, 6 weeks through the NFL season. We've got a big slate coming up. Which game are you most excited for?
I'm excited for all of them. The biggest thing is I really want to see how the Philadelphia Eagles bounce back from that beatdown that the Giants put on them last week. I mean, it was absolutely brutal. You got the Minnesota Vikings coming off of a bye week, and you got the Philadelphia Eagles. They've had the extended rest. So you're looking at that line, it's Eagles minus 2.5. It was as low as 2. So I want to see how the Eagles bounce back.
I
Good
want to see
choice,
how.
Raheem. Good
Oh yeah, I
choice.
want to see too how the Giants are going to have to play a sandwich game in between those two Eagles games. But we've also got Major League Baseball tonight. 2 ALCS, NLCS games going on. JJ, how has the baseball world been treating you?
I have to be honest, Ariel, after a very solid division series, Yankees notwithstanding, I cannot say the same about the AL and the NLCS. I did have the Toronto Blue Jays last night, which was a thing of beauty. I unfortunately bet on the Milwaukee Brewers, though, in the first 2 games of their series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I don't care how much value I might be getting tonight with Milwaukee in game 3. I am going nowhere near that particular NLCS. And we do have Max Scherzer on the mound, the old man in Seattle trying to even up the series. So as far as my interest level for the 2 LCSs, I am going to have my eye a lot more on the ALCS tonight from a betting standpoint than I would the NLCS.
This is the Ringer Gambling Show presented by FanDuel. And if you're betting on the NFL, FanDuel's the place to do it. You've got everything. Same game parlays, quick bets for when you jump in live, and your way so you can set your own lines. The app's fast. It's easy to use. And best of all, when you win, you get paid out instantly. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com/gamblers to get started. Yes, you must be 21 or older and present in select states and 18 or older in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
We're going to dive into both of those games, but first, we've got Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football, AFC North showdown. You know that when it's the AFC North, it's going to be ugly. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Steelers are laying 5.5 on the road with a total at 44.5. We know that defense used to be the name of the AFC North, but not so much anymore. Seems to be a lot more offensively focused. So Raheem, looking at that lower total of 44.5, I know it's Thursday Night Football, and also the Steelers laying 5.5. Is there anything about this line that's a little fishy to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fishy because if you look at Mike Tomlin historically, um, he's not good as a road favorite. He's talking about 15-31 against the spread as a road favorite in the Mike Tomlin era. So you're looking at that spread, and initially I actually wanted to take the Cincinnati Bengals, but the problem is you got a short week. Flacco just played his first game the other day, and now he has to play on a short week, and he doesn't have Trey Hendrickson. And I think that's the only defender worth a damn for this Cincinnati Bengals team. So I'm going to approach this a different way. I think this total is a little too low. Actually, it was 43.5. It got bet up to 44.5. Unfortunately, 44 is key. So I really want to get that key number of 44 without the hook on it. But I still want to play the over here because, the Bengals, they don't have Trey Hendrickson. I look at this Steelers team. They don't have a dominant defense at all. Meanwhile, the Bengals, you're talking 29th in EPA per play on defense, 30th in success rate on defense. So I think the Steelers should be able to score. I think they'll be able to get the ball up and down the field. And I think the Bengals, their only hope and prayer for this game is to score some points. So I like the over.
Before I get to you, JJ, I want to ask about Raheem's model because if you're going to have a game with a quarterback that we've only seen one time on a team through 6 weeks of a season, how do you use your model but also know, okay, our numbers aren't always going to be spot on because we've got a new back?
Well, I mean, like with the model, you can plug in, at least this new model that I built, I can actually plug in the quarterback and see the differences between it. So
Okay. So it does make up for just even
yeah.
having the short, a little bit of time with Joe Flacco. JJ, minus 5.5 for the Steelers on the road. Lower total on Thursday Night Football. What do you got?
I had a feeling, number one, that Raheem was going to be all over the over in this game. And let me just say, I would give that pick a major check mark and a major stamp of approval. I love the Hold You Know special. That is like a tradition unlike any other on Thursday night. And let's be real about this. The underdogs have taken care of me in a lot of these Thursday night spots. The Giants were good to me last week. Miami,
In prime
a
time
couple
in
weeks.
general this year, they've been great.
And let's keep it rolling on that, Ariel. I'm going to take Cincinnati plus the 5.5 here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Raheem hit on something I think is very important to realize with Mike Tomlin coach teams. Normally, when they are on the road laying big numbers, this is not the sort of situation you want to go and take them. And I saw from Cincinnati last week against a very good Green Bay defense, Joe Flacco coming in was at least able to move the football. Now, are they going to be able to keep him upright? Are they going to be able to deal with TJ Watt? That, to me, is the problematic element of this game that, could scare you off Cincinnati. But they're the more desperate team. They have two wide receivers that can go and absolutely wreck the game. Jamar Chase on one side, T. Higgins on the other side. And I'm getting 5.5 points in the process. Pittsburgh, it's going to be a lot of the tight ends. You're going to see a lot of Darnell Washington, Jonnu Smith, Kenneth Gainwell. It's not pretty, but it's been working from an offensive standpoint for Aaron Rodgers and company. Doesn't this reek of Pittsburgh just does just enough to get themselves a victory, but not enough to go and win by margin? I don't see this as a margin game. I'm grabbing 5.5 points. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals to go and make this a competitive Thursday night football game. I love me some points.
And we know that Joe Flacco knows the head coach of the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, very well from his days in Baltimore. I'm looking at a prop, of course. I was going back and forth between which pass-catching back is going to have the most success against the Cincinnati Bengals. For me, it's probably Kenneth Gainwell, because the Steelers head coach, Mike Tomlin, if you look back at his last 2 years going up against the Cincinnati Bengals, he has utilized pass-catching backs. But at that time, it was Najee Harris was RB1, Jalen Warren RB2. Jalen Warren is now RB1. So now you're going to kind of move him up the ladder. Jalen Warren got a lot of different balls. He caught a lot of balls out of the backfield against Cincinnati through the last couple of seasons. Kenneth Gainwell is that guy now. And I know that he hasn't had as many snaps, but the last 2 weeks, he's caught 6 different balls. And now you're getting a defense in Cincinnati who's allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to running backs at 46 a game. I find this number to be kind of sketchy because Kenneth Gainwell is at 18.5 on the rise to 19.5. Jalen Warren was around 20.5 down to 18.5. First off, the book's telling us, okay, Kenneth Gainwell we believe in a little bit more. Second of all, the book's not dumb. They know that Kenneth Gainwell has had one game that has gone over this number. So why is this number so high? Because the Bengals stink against pass-catching backs, and we're going to use the same method that Mike Tomlin has used the last 2 years. Jalen Warren's going to run the football as RB1, and Kenneth Gainwell is going to catch balls out of the backfield as RB2. We're going over 18.5 receiving yards.
I like it.
I know JJ said he liked it.
Listen, I know you're the prop queen. I know this is your area of expertise. I threw this into our Bodega Locks chat, and I had a little fun with it on New York. And yeah, I'm going to have a little fun with it right now. Right now, I am red hot with the anytime touchdowns. You might as well call me the prop prince, guys, okay? I know I can't be the prop king. I am not going to step on the queen's throne. I'm going to be below the queen here. I'm the prince, okay? Right now, I love Prince, 1999. I can't get enough. Raspberry Beret. I'm going to give you a little Raspberry Beret on a couple of touchdowns. Let's see if you guys
Ooh, we
like
got
these.
more than one? Okay.
I'm giving you 3 tonight. I'm feeling frisky because the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers love throwing to the tight end. So I think with the number you can get for both Jonnu Smith and for Darnell Washington, they're super, super juicy. They're in that 310 range, that 370 range. Very appetizing for an anytime touchdown. So I'm going to give you those 2 right there. Then, Ariel, I'm going to be real basic. Jamar Chase now has a quarterback that wants to throw him the football. I don't care how square, public. You know what? Sometimes we got to go off the deep end, and sometimes we just got to be a basic you-know-what. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to be basic. Jamar Chase, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington playing all 3 for anytime touchdowns tonight.
I know props aren't really your thing, Raheem, but I know you did like an anytime touchdown prop that we're going to give out here on The Ringer. Why did you choose Noah Fant?
Yeah, I think he benefits from the presence of Joe Flacco. And I think the number lends itself towards getting a nice low lottery ticket. So let's go with Noah Fant plus 440. I think he has a good chance of scoring tonight. So he's a good red zone threat. I know you got T. Higgins on one side and Jamar Chase on the other side, but I'm going to take a shot with the tight end.
I went with T. Higgins, who's around plus 180, and it's all because of man coverage. Because when Higgins is played in man, when he's faced man coverage, he has the fourth highest rate for being targeted in the NFL. And also, 9 of those 16 targets caught for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 2.5 yards per route, which is the fifth most. And Pittsburgh, they play a lot of man coverage, fourth highest rate in the NFL. They don't allow a lot of yardage, though. They're very good in man coverage, which is why they always are in man coverage. But T. Higgins is getting a lot of those targets this year as a Cincinnati Bengals, so I'm going to take him to score a touchdown at plus 185. Anything else before we move on to Major League Baseball?
I feel good about these. Look, Pittsburgh, crazy that we're sitting here and living in a world. And I know you don't want to hear this, Ariel.
They've
but I'm gonna
played
say it.
nobody. Get out of here.
No,
They
but
played the Pats.
I'm just saying they're favorites to win the AFC North. Did you
And they
ever
should be.
But it's just, I just want to point out to the audience, and Raheem, listen, I was bullish on the Steelers winning 9+ games. I said, when in doubt, Mike
Well,
Tomlin
yeah.
has a
How do
winning
you
year.
not?
Well, you'd be surprised, Ariel. A lot of people
I know, but
actually
Tomlin's
tried
never
getting
not been
cute.
at 500, so it's almost like you got to just keep doing it until he
Well, that's
does
what
it.
I did. I'm just acknowledging for everybody out there
Fine.
that I am going to have my over 9 cash by like early December.
Oh, now
And-
he's mushing himself. They're
No,
going to
no,
go
no.
lose now, like
No, they're
6
not.
straight.
Oh,
No, they're not.
man.
Mike Tomlin is Mike Tomlin, and I've been on record of this, and I'm going to continue to be on record. Aaron Rodgers is winning a playoff game this year. Remember,
I
said
want
that.
everybody right now to record this portion of the show.
Save it.
Mark down the time when the Steelers go on this losing streak, starting like probably tonight now, they'll get upset. We're going to throw this up in 5 weeks and blame JJ for it.
Fine.
Steelers
I,
Nation
I
coming
don't
out.
believe in mushes. I think JJ's idea is that Mike Tomlin is consistent. He consistently goes 9-7, or 9-8, or 10-7 at this point in time, and he's never had a losing season. So I don't know if JJ saying this on the Ringer Gambling Show is just all of a sudden just going to mush this, because it's been almost 20 years at this point.
It's funny because I was watching MLB Network and Greg Amsinger was saying that he's a mush for no hitters and perfect games. He says every time he says it on MLB Tonight, they always tend to mush and lose. So I guess it's a talent, but you could say Steelers fans think Mike Tomlin's too consistent to the point that it's now mediocre and average, which is how a lot of Dodgers fans felt about their LA Dodgers and their head coach or manager, Dave Roberts. But listen, the Dodgers are looking good. They've now beaten the Brewers a couple of times, and now we're headed into another game here in the NLCS tonight where we've got Tyler Glass now on the mound, and I haven't seen the Brewers announce a starter yet, but the Dodgers were like minus 195 earlier. Now they're minus 174, so that makes me think that we're starting to find out that the Brewers might actually throw a starting pitcher as opposed to someone else out of the bullpen. JJ, I know you don't love the NLCS right now, but which way would you lean in the game?
How do you get in front of this Dodger freight train? See, that's the problem. Ariel, if Milwaukee was going to go and make this series competitive, they're going to win one of the first 2 games at home. And let's be honest, they had an opportunity to go and win game 1. You have to go and get hit by the pitch there. I don't know how you're running away from it with the bases loaded, that environment, get hit, tie the game. Who knows what happens in the extra innings. And game 2, the Dodger lineup ended up being relentless. You may see Mizorowski pitch game 3 for Milwaukee, and he's got a super live arm, and he's super, super talented. But the sense I get in this series, the Dodgers played the best team that they may play this entire postseason in the division series. Now, maybe Seattle or Toronto is going to be a different story in the World Series. But despite all the wins the Milwaukee Brewers had throughout the year, they're not, to me, anywhere close to the Philadelphia Phillies. Sorry for the folks listening to Milwaukee. You're a good regular season team. I love me some Pat Murphy. I love the storyline. Win for Bob Uecker, the whole vibe. It's just not a playoff team. Barely got by the mediocre Chicago Cubs. I think the Brewers are dead. To me, I don't care what this line may be. Now, I'm not laying 165. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just kind of kicking myself, Raheem, for not playing Dodgers -1.5 games, and I'm kicking myself for not playing them to win in 4 and 5 games because no matter we're heading back to Chavez Ravine, I just don't get the sense we're looking at a long series.
Yeah, I don't think we're looking at a long series either. And look, I played the Dodgers in game 1 just because they're the Dodgers. And then in game 2, I thought that some of what we saw in the ninth inning for the Milwaukee Brewers would carry over to game 1. And then obviously, the first pitch, you have a home run for the Brewers and you're like, all right, this is going to carry over. This is a spot where we're going to fight. And their bats went cold for the entire game. They had nothing. And then they had absolutely nothing for the Dodgers offense. I just think they're relentless at this point in time. You just can't step in front of this Dodgers train. And I don't know how you don't, if you're betting baseball, I don't know how you don't have a Dodgers World Series ticket. Like, I mean, a week ago, they probably were like plus money or, -110 or so. Right now it's -165. And it just feels like that's still a bargain.
How would you bet the game then? Would you lay the money line at -165?
I mean, I don't know who the pitcher is for the Brewers, so I can't, necessarily bet that, but I think it's definitely Dodgers a pass.
I'm looking at a play on the Dodgers, and that's their starter, Tyler Glass, now to go over 5.5 strikeouts. Hefty juice around -145. I don't trust the Dodgers to leave Glass now in based on his injury history for too long to take his over 15.5 outs, which is pretty high for a playoff game. I know the Dodgers bullpen's been bad, but they've been rested now that we had a complete game in the last game. However, for Glass now, it's shadows because it's 6 p.m. Eastern time. So on the West Coast, you're going to get shadows from the late afternoon. And that helped him last time out. And also, you're getting a Brewers team that is going to probably be aggressive at the plate because they're down 2-0 in the series. They do tend to strike out a lot. Not as much as last year, but they do have strikeout tendencies. And Glass now, I think, can benefit from that early on in this game. So with him at home, I'd rather take the over 5.5 strikeouts against what we saw with Toronto, a team down 2-0 that wants to get aggressive at the plate early, and they're willing to swing and miss for it. So we've got everyone on the same page. Dodgers look like the team to beat at this point in the NLCS. I will note the Brewers bats are better on the road this year. They average an extra run per game when they're on the road. Best hitting road team in Major League Baseball. We also have the ALCS tonight, and we've got a Toronto team that looks like they heated up for sure last night. It was a dominant win in Seattle with that home crowd being super loud. 13-4 was the final score. So at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, you've got Max Scherzer on the mound against Luis Castillo, an ace pitching for the Seattle Mariners tonight. I have trust issues with Mad Max. Raheem, what about you?
The way the Blue Jays came out yesterday, I actually thought this series was over. I really did, and now I'm questioning some things. So maybe JJ can give me his expertise on this.
Please, thank you, Raheem. Now, I thought you'd get an effort from Toronto in Game 3. I didn't think it would be that sort of effort. That was just a full-fledged ass whooping that they gave the Seattle Mariners. To Ariel's point, I don't know how you can expect anything out of Max Scherzer. He has not pitched in weeks. He's well past his prime. If you're going to back Toronto, the logic in backing Toronto is not a Max Scherzer play. It's, hey, they won a bullpen game against the Yankees in Game 4 of the ALDS. This may very well end up being a bullpen game for Toronto, where Scherzer maybe goes one time through the lineup, and Schneider is ready to get that bullpen rocking and rolling from the 4th inning on. I have a lot more confidence that you can get some length out of Luis Castillo, who hasn't necessarily gone deep in these postseason games, but he's been effective if you go back.
And he's better at home, typically.
Yeah, he's
better at home, pitched in a ton of big games, too, and look, pitched well enough, is dancing in and out of trouble against the Tigers, came in that extra inning game and threw the ball, I thought, very, very well. And Seattle showed some life with the bat late in the game. It was in garbage time. It was obviously too little too late. I think you have a little bit of a carryover there. I think this is a good buy low price here with the Mariners. I was on Toronto in Game 3. Did not have a great feel for Game 1. I texted Raheem this. I loved Toronto after what happened in that 15-inning game, and I got way too cute. Got burned, thought I got the best of the number. Didn't matter. Seattle won the game. I think the Seattle Mariners at home take care of business. Rosarena, Raleigh, Castillo, and a very rested Seattle bullpen. Because let's think about this game. The last 2 games now, Seattle has won by margin. Their big guns should be ready to go in the bullpen, backing up Castillo. Seattle's seen a lot of these Blue Jay relievers already. I think that ends up being the difference in the game. Not going near the total. I like the Seattle Mariners to win game 4.
So money line, -120 on FanDuel.
That's right.
I agree that this number just seems way too much of an overreaction to how the Toronto Bats looked last night. -120 for Luis Castillo at home up against Max Scherzer. This should be a -135. Let's not forget that Randy Arozarena finally hit a home run last night. And I know that it was in essentially what we could call garbage time. Mm-hmm. He at least still felt good and hit one. That must have been such a relief after not looking like himself for the last couple of years. Cal Raleigh also hit one. I mean, the Mariners bats still can show through at home. I do agree this price at -120. It's a little bit sketch. So I would back Luis Castillo at -120 for sure at home. Am I betting it? I don't know yet. Because I'm like, okay, is it just fishy? Like, are we missing something here? Or are we overreacting to Toronto?
I think we're overreacting.
So ahead, you guys think this series is over, pretty much?
No.
Okay.
I don't. Because I think Toronto could go and win game 5 in Seattle.
Me too.
Because you see a lot of times, Raheem, in these closeout situations, you think, oh, the energy of the crowd. Sometimes you can be a little overhyped and you try to do a little bit too much. And, remember, from a pitching standpoint, Seattle not going to have the advantage in game 5. You're going to have Gausman on the mound. He'll be ready to go.
I'm saying this is the advantage for sure today with Luis Castillo on the mound. If Seattle loses this game, it's a big, big, big problem. I know that it's only then a tied series, but it is a big, big problem for Seattle. They need to win today.
I'm with you, Ariel. This is a must for Seattle.
So right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, they have the series correct scores. You can get the Mariners 4-2 plus 300. And I probably should have gave this for the Dodgers series, but I'm going to say it now because I just found it. I like the Dodgers 4-0 plus 150. I think you have to kind of grab that. So I would grab that for that series. But for this series, how do you guys see it playing out as far as like the correct score or anything like that? Or you're not willing to bet on that?
I'm honestly not willing to bet on it, Raheem, because I just think there's too much uncertainty. Game 4, advantage Seattle pitching matchup. Game 5, advantage Toronto. Seattle clearly has had no problem playing in Toronto, winning the first 2 games of the series. But to Ariel's point, I think it would be incredibly problematic from a Mariner perspective if they, after winning the first 2 games on the road, lose the first 2, and then they're going to see Gausman again. That's scary. That's scary. Yeah. That, to me, would shift the balance of power considerably.
I agree. If you feel like the Seattle Mariners can win tonight, then I would take them in 6. I would say Seattle would win tonight. Toronto would win game 5. They bring it back to Toronto. There's all this hype, and then Seattle just ends up beating them at home in Toronto. But again, that's why I guess -120 tonight on the Seattle Mariners, because if you lose that, then I lose all my faith in the Mariners to win.
Gang, if you like the Blue Jays tonight, and I don't, but if you do, bet them to win the series.
Yeah, I agree.
To win the series. If you like them tonight, hey, Gausman game 5. 2 games back at home, 6 and 7. If you like the Blue Jays tonight, if you're listening to the Ringer Gambling Show and you're like, wow, JJ, you're dead off on the Seattle. I'm taking Toronto. Put your money where your mouth is. Forget about the game. Take them to win the series.
I agree. There's also someone that JJ thinks you shouldn't be putting your money on. So for our podcast audience, we'll be right back and we'll talk to you about who JJ says you are absolutely insane and he might call you dumb for betting this team in the NFL. We'll talk our favorite NFL lines coming up for the weekend as well up next. If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe and like here on The Ringer. We really appreciate it. We are presented to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It is the Ringer Gambling Show. Back here on the Ringer Gambling Show, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Thank you to our podcast audience and everyone watching on YouTube for tuning in. JJ said that going into week 7, there is a team that if you are still high on them and trying to get good value and betting them to win the Super Bowl in the NFL, you are absolutely insane. JJ, who is that team?
Yeah, I'm going to use insane, not dumb, because I just think it's full-fledged insanity at the moment to look at the Buffalo Bills.
What's worse, insane or dumb?
Dumb, in my opinion. But I guess that's a conversation for a different day. Look, Buffalo looks like a hot mess at the moment. Don't get me wrong. Josh Allen's amazing. He's all world. He's exemplary. But there was this given that I had, that Raheem may have had, that many others may have had going into this year. Hey, Buffalo's a lock to go and win the AFC East. Buffalo's going to find their way to a 1 or a 2 seed guaranteed. Are we sure about that? Have you seen the Buffalo Bills schedule over the next few weeks? Do you understand that New England has cupcake city after cupcake city after cupcake city, and Buffalo has defensive problems? Buffalo all of a sudden now is searching for answers at wide receiver. I look at that odds board to win the Super Bowl, and I'm like, hold on, Buffalo's the second favorite? I know Josh Allen's great. I know everybody loves him. There is no way in the world I'm taking that number at this point in time and saying I want to go and bet on the Buffalo Bills. Like, Kansas City, Buffalo, and I know Buffalo's had the better of Kansas City in the regular season. I don't care. Kansas City looks well more, dare I say, well-rounded. They look like the team that's kind of trending in the right direction. Raheem, I'm out on this Bills team for the foreseeable future. They're going to win their games. They're going to be in the playoffs. But a Super Bowl ticket? You tell me what I saw on Monday night is a Super Bowl-worthy team? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, we knew from the opening game of the season, the defense isn't very good at all. And they've also been hurt. But when you look at the offense, now they're banged up. So it just feels like we're going to see the same thing that we've always seen in the Josh Allen era. It's Josh Allen being Superman and ultimately them not being able to get stops. And I think that's what doomed them against Kansas City all of these years. They just could not get stops. So I think they're in a position now where they actually have a notable challenger in the New England Patriots. And the New England Patriots right now, they own the tiebreaker, and then they have another game at home against the Buffalo Bills. So that puts them in a bad spot. I think the thing with the Buffalo Bills coming into this season is that we thought that the Buffalo Bills would win their division. And when you have a cupcake division with the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins, it puts you at an advantage because there's only one bye week now. So we thought maybe the Buffalo Bills would beat up on that division, beat up on a weak schedule, get the bye week, and then that gives them an advantage over KC or Baltimore. But now that's not necessarily the case. I'm not sure if they're going to get the number 1 seed. So you are crazy if you bet on the Buffalo Bills at this point to win the Super Bowl at plus 650. They shouldn't be the favorites. I think KC should be the favorite.
Ooh, okay. Everyone's saying that we're still buying in on KC. The books also loving Patrick Mahomes as your new favorite for MVP, which is crazy after the way that season started. Also, remember that the Chiefs are getting back Rashee Rice from his 6-game suspension this week, and he is back practicing with the team. Let's talk about teams then that we would be willing to bet on. We've got some bigger games on the slate. I will say this slate isn't the most enticing. There are a lot of ugly games, but some that I think we're going to find out for real about teams like the Indianapolis Colts, who have had a pretty easy schedule. Granted, you got to give them their flowers. The Colts have looked very good, but when you look at who they've played recently and now going up against a legitimate Chargers team, like Indianapolis has played Miami, Tennessee, Vegas. They beat a banged up Arizona team. Denver had the game won pretty much, and granted, Indy did win that game, but remember that came off that the levitating, whatever the penalty is on the kick. So then they end up winning, but that was their closest game against their best probably opponent. Now getting the Chargers, where the Chargers are laying 1.5, total around 48.5. This one's 4 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. JJ, do you believe in the Indianapolis Colts?
I like the Colts. I think they're on their way to being a playoff team this season, Ariel. I do not like this spot for them, though, going to the West Coast and taking on the Chargers. And look, I think the Chargers were incredibly fortunate a week ago to go and take down the Miami Dolphins. I don't know how Jalen Phillips doesn't sack Justin Herbert. I don't know what the safety is doing on McConkey. When you have the sideline basically as an extra defender and you allow the guy to basically, juke you and get 40 yards and get right in the field goal range, that's why the Miami Dolphins stink. But this is a big show-me game for Indianapolis. They barely beat Arizona last week. Now on the road. Chargers incredibly tough. Chargers incredibly well coached. I'm laying a small price with the Chargers. This is going to be a play game for what it's worth. I'm going to advocate for the Ringer 107 here. I think the Chargers keep it rolling. I think this is a little bit of a humbling for Indianapolis that has already lost in this building, going back a couple weeks ago to the game they played against the Los Angeles Rams. Not there with Indy in this spot. I think it's a Chargers spot. They're back at home. Herbert puts up big numbers, and the Chargers take care of business.
Yeah, I agree with this one. And the biggest reason why is when you look at the Indianapolis Colts, they are absolutely ravaged. They're ravaged in the secondary. I mean, Kenny Moore and Jalen Jones have already been out, but now Charvarius Ward, he missed week 6 and he's in a concussion protocol. So I think that just puts them in a bad spot. You saw what Jacoby Brissett was able to do. He threw for 320 passing yards last week. And I think Justin Herbert is his turn. It's his turn. I mean, he's at home. And look, I think he should be able to pass all over this secondary. And I look at Daniel Jones. He's been playing like an MVP candidate. At some point, Water has to
He
meet his
regrets to
level.
the mean.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's going to regress, and I think that's the time now. So the biggest thing I'm looking at right now is I want to see if some of those offensive linemen come back for the Chargers. I think if those guys come back, I think this is a very, very strong play. So I like the Chargers in this matchup too. I think it's a cheap price to buy on them.
I can't believe that we're sweeping the board. So clearly this is going to be a Ringer
you can lock it
107
for
play.
the 107 now. Family play. Let's go, gang.
Family
Let's go,
play.
Ariel.
Listen, the Chargers last week was the 4th time in 6 games that they were on the road. The Colts, again, they haven't really played anybody except Denver, and they ended up missing that field goal. Then they got the penalty. 15-yard penalty led them to kicking the game winner. So do I believe in the Colts? Not really. And I give them their credit. The Chargers at home, finally in a good spot. So many road games to start this year. The Chargers were my pick to win the AFC West. I've been high on them since the preseason. So we're going to go Chargers -1.5. I also have a prop in this game, which I will give out in Queen's Corner. And I'm excited to hear what JJ has to say because we talk about quarterbacks and being high on them. And Daniel Jones has been one of those quarterbacks this year, but I'm not looking at him in the air. So we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. Jaguars Rams. I'll be honest, I don't have a feel for this game. I saw this line, hasn't really moved this week. It's been the Rams -3, total 44.5. The Jags have looked good, which is why to me I'm saying, okay, getting 3 at home. I know the Rams also are fine, but it seems like this could have been a 1.5 if the Jags were that good. Raheem, clearly the book's not buying it.
So I actually like the Jaguars in this game.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the spot that the Rams are in. You look at the Rams, this is pretty much their second straight road game. Look, last week you play Baltimore. And to me, they didn't look that great against Baltimore. I think this Rams team is a very good team who kind of they play down to their competition. And to me, last week against Baltimore, and I was all over the Rams on our, Sunday NFL pregame show. I think they played down to their competition. And ultimately, what came of that game was they stopped Derrick Henry and they had a goal line stop. And I think that changed the outcome of that game. And now I think you have to actually go up against a quarterback who's actually, solid. I mean, regardless of what you think of Trevor Lawrence, he's a much better quarterback than Cooper Rush, and he can deliver the throws. And we know that Rams secondary isn't very good. They have a pass rush, but I don't foresee that Trevor Lawrence is going to get sacked 9 times like the Seahawks did. And I think Trevor Lawrence should be able to pass all over that secondary. I think the Jaguars have had a little bit of bad luck with, some drops. So I think the advantage for the Jaguars is just beating up on that secondary. And even in that game last week against the Seahawks, Trevor Lawrence got sacked 9 times, but they still had multiple chances to tie that game in the fourth quarter. So I'm looking at the Rams, and they're pretty much, you're laying 3.5 in a spot in London where I look at this Jags team. That's basically home for them. They're used to playing these games in London. So I like the Jags here. I'm going to grab the 3.5. I think they have a good chance of winning this game outright.
I'm right there with you. And it's all about situational spot for the Rams. You're going to London. This is a West Coast team that just played on the East Coast in Baltimore, and now they got to go to London without Nakua. And we all know how special and how dynamic and how just unreal he is as a playmaker for Matthew Stafford. You're taking Nakua away. And it's funny, Ariel, you mentioned the Jaguars being at home. London basically is their home. They are very, very comfortable in the whole vibe and the whole deal of playing these international games. Now, I know it's a different coaching staff. It's Liam Cohen's first time at this thing. But as a franchise, the players, the guys who have been there in the past, they know what they're getting themselves into here. Now, I can't say that I'm advising this for a Ringer 107 play because we do have a rule on international games. We'll see if we're going to break that rule.
I'll
in
be
about
honest, I
15
totally forgot that this was another international game.
No, but you know
Totally
what?
forgot.
It was a Freudian slip by you because Jaguars at home, London is basically
We've
home
had
for them.
so many that I feel like we're due for a week to not have one. And every week I keep thinking like,
No,
okay,
we have a bunch now until
I
like the
know
end
in
of
a row.
November,
It's crazy.
basically.
Anyway, that's on me.
But I like the Jaguars in this spot as well. Rams are beat up, bounce back game from Lawrence, and we're getting 3 points in the process.
I would also add, I think this is an under. I don't think you're going to see a lot of points in this game. I think.
Did we ever in London once?
I mean, we have, but I think in particular this game, I think you have two decent pass rushes, and I think this game doesn't seem like a high scoring game. So I like this one to go under.
Yeah, I have no feel for this. I hate betting international games, and I'm glad because I had no feel for this even if it was in Jacksonville. So I do have a feel for this Lions-Bucks game because you're getting a Bucks team that is so banged up. I'm going to go through, before we even talk about the line, let's go through the injury report. Running back Bucky Irving, doubtful. Mike Evans, questionable. Chris Godwin, doubtful. Ibuka, questionable. Luke Haggard, questionable, the right guard. There is a ton of injuries to just this offense alone, and you're talking about the entire receiving core, which is where you could beat Detroit, who's also a bit banged up and have some players gone in the secondary, but that's not the problem. The problem for Detroit is now going to be the pass rush, to which the Bucks have nothing. They have no one to throw to. They have no one to run the football, and now all they have is their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, where the Lions are going to be able to get to him because he has no one to throw to. So I like the Lions here, -5.5. Raheem, thoughts on this game?
So I like the Lions, but I'm concerned about the secondary. Obviously, Terry and Arnold, you're still missing DJ Reader up front. And now they're talking about Brian Branch is going to be suspended for beating up Juju last week. So I need to get some, news about that secondary because right now Baker Mayfield is probably the most annoying person.
Who's he throwing to?
It almost hasn't mattered. It hasn't mattered. That's the scary thing.
I'm so tired of losing to Baker Mayfield because to me, every single one of these games has been losable. Every single one. So I do like the Lions, but I'm fed up. I'm totally fed
up. I get it, Raheem. Listen, I warned you last week with San Francisco when it comes to betting against Baker Mayfield. Now, I know what I said last week. Yeah. I know what I ended up doing with my wallet. Guess what I'm about to do? I'm going to bet against Baker Mayfield again. I know they're getting Mike Evans back, but Ariel, you hit on so many things that are going wrong for Tampa going into this game. And I also like Campbell in these spots where he's coming off a loss. He's been unbelievable as a head coach.
They're also going into a bye, Detroit.
Going into a bye, uber focused off the loss, home, great environment on Monday Night Football. And I think they're going to be able to move it up and down the field against this Buccaneer defense. I get the concern about that Lions secondary, who already lost DJ Reed. You throw in the Branch suspension, Raheem. It's not ideal, and Baker could backdoor cover you. The spot screams Detroit, though.
Yeah, it's definitely a Lions spot. Like I can't argue with that at all. I mean, the Lions lose in prime time, and even if you look at that game against the Chiefs, who I consider the best team in the league at this point in time, they were down 20-17 in the fourth quarter. Obviously the game ended up 30-17.
Well, St. Brown drops a fourth down play. Like there was a lot that went against
even
the
like
Lions.
You look at the first quarter with Jared Goff. I mean, the illegal motion penalty that changes that game. And instead of being down 20-17, you're up 21-20. So obviously you can think snowball, but things change. So, and they were right there in that game. So this is probably a good buy low spot on the Detroit Lions. I agree.
Detroit's the play in this game. I would advise it for 107. We'll see if we could come to a consensus. But Ariel, we're 2 for 2, by the way. You like the Chargers, so do I. Raheem, actually, we're 3 for 3 because I like the Jaguars, so does Raheem. And as far as this game, 2 for 2. Let's go, Ariel. A lot of unity.
Let's see if we could keep the unity going for Ringer 107. But first, I've got Queen's Corner, and we'll see what you guys agree on and disagree on here because there are a few props. I've got 5 going into the Sunday slate that really stood out to me, and you guys just let me know if there are any that stood out to you as well. So first, we're going to go to the Saints game where they're getting the Chicago Bears, and I really like Alvin Kamara this week, over 45 and a half rushing yards. Chicago's allowed the second most rushing yards per game to running backs, and the key to this game is going to be to just maintain possession, don't give the ball back to Chicago, and New Orleans can do that with Kamara. They're 5.5-point dogs. I see them using Kamara here over his rushing yards. Daniel Jones is the other one, which I thought, I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for JJ to tell me what he thinks about Daniel Jones finally running with the football. But Daniel Jones is getting a team in the Los Angeles Chargers who have allowed the most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. They're allowing an average of 34 and a half rushing yards per game to quarterbacks this year. And we know that Daniel Jones loves to use his legs. I think this number is going to go from 15 and a half up to 20 and a half by the time that we hit Sunday. Especially as a road dog up against the Chargers. If they're playing from behind and the Chargers don't give Jones much to throw to, then he's going to have to run. And another one I like for running the football, Geno Smith, he's getting the Chiefs as a huge dog, double-digit dog. The Chiefs have also been bottom 5 in allowing the most rushing yards to quarterbacks this year. We know the Chiefs love to blitz. They're top 5 in blitz rate. So if they're going to blitz on the Raiders, Geno's going to have to scramble. Jackson Dart, under 16 and a half pass completions. This is that game now where, okay, after a huge win up against your division rivals and the Philadelphia Eagles, now you have to go to altitude in Denver. Under 16 and a half completions. Denver's allowed the 5th least completions per game to quarterbacks, averaging about 18. So for Jackson Dart, who's young and going to altitude and coming off of this crazy game and then having to face the Eagles again next week, I see us regressing to the mean on Jackson Dart. And lastly, this is just a trend. TJ Hawkinson, the tight end for the Minnesota Vikings, going up against the Eagles, taking his under receiving yards. I feel like I always get burned on it, so it's probably my least favorite one. But the trend is you always fade tight ends against the Eagles. They have been top 5 against tight ends the last couple of years, limiting these tight ends to about 21, 22 receiving yards a game. And that's right around where you are seeing this prop for TJ Hawkinson. JJ, any stand out to you?
Yeah, I want to go to Giant quarterback Jackson Dart, who is under 16 and a half pass completions. I absolutely adore that one, Ariel. This is a brutal, brutal spot for the young man. I don't care that Denver played a game in London last week. That's one of the best defenses in football on the road. You don't have Malik Neighbors, who is getting separation at the wide receiver position. I think the only way you get into trouble with that one is if there's like a bunch of dump offs and all of a sudden that pads the completion number. But just as far as like trying to throw at those corners, not ideal. So out of any of the 5 you gave out, the 2 I really like are the 2 involving quarterbacks. I also like Daniel Jones to go over 15 and a half rushing yards.
New York-ish quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I think that's the one I would go with as well. I would definitely go with Daniel Jones over 15 and a half rushing yards. I know he had 20 last week. I think, the Chargers get any type of pass rush or just push him out of the pocket. I think that's my favorite one out of all of them.
And they've struggled with running quarterbacks, guys,
Yeah.
the Chargers. They didn't have to deal with them last week because Tua has no interest in running with his concussion situation. But in general, Chargers, they usually give up some rushing to the quarterback. So
they don't get a lot
advantage
of pressure on quarterbacks either. So just ends up being a great place for there to be an open lane for these quarterbacks to run. And I do think that that's going to happen this coming week. So let's talk Ringer 107 coming up next, because I'm going to go now and bet these 2 props that you guys like. I have to get ahead of the lines because they're probably going to end up moving once people listen to this. Taking a break for the podcast audience, we've got Ringer 107. If there is any show to listen to, it is the Thursday version of the Ringer Gambling Show, because we are the leaders. Bodega Locks, we're still leading the way over at Ringer 107.
They tried to cheat us out of a win.
Good job,
Okay.
Raheem. We were all over it. Good job. Graphics team, I
We'll
love
tell you
but
after the
graphic
break
teams.
why they
tried
cheated us out
screwing
of a
us.
win and why Raheem came to the rescue. Stay here on The Ringer. For everyone watching on YouTube, thanks for watching here on The Ringer podcast. We are the Ringer Gambling Show, brought to you by FanDuel. So make sure to subscribe and like here on the YouTube page. For our Ringer Gambling Show audience here on this Thursday, it is Ringer 107 time. Raheem, they tried to steal a win from us. You saved the day, though, this week. Thank you.
Yeah, they tried to tell us that the Kansas City Chiefs didn't cover that game. They had us at 15-15. We're actually at 16-14, which is not great, but we're still ahead of everybody else. So hopefully we can keep it going.
Listen, keep stacking the winning weeks, guys. That's all that matters. You stack winning weeks, the record will add up at the end of the year, and hopefully the three of us are enjoying a nice celebratory dinner and trying to achieve the ultimate goal of winning the Ringer 107. But yeah, I was not happy when I saw those standings come up on my social media and I see 2 and 3 from Bodega Locks. I said, excuse me, no, 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 no. We had yet another winning week. So job well done by our guy, Raheem.
A lot of 3 and 2 weeks for us. Let's try to make it 4 and 1 at least. Ringer 107 is brought to you by FanDuel. It's our pick'em contest. Every game, every football season, but this football season, it is between us, shout out Bodega Locks, Sal and DeBundo, Fantasy Guys, Bill Simmons, and House and Shell. So let's get to our Bodega Locks Week 7 picks. JJ, you go first. Who you throwing out there?
You know, there were a couple that I really like. I'm going to give you one that we haven't talked about yet. Denver Broncos laying 7 against the New York Giants. I hate this spot for young Jackson Dart. I know everybody in New York now has Jackson Dart fever, Scatterboo fever. Giants just beat the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. I mean, I have people in my life saying the Giants can go and make the playoffs. I have Giant fans trolling me saying
Jesus.
Jalen Waddle is going to be a Giant leading them to the postseason by the end of this year. I just think this is a game that's a harsh reality check. The one I want to give out here is the Denver defense, where I just don't see the Giants getting to 17 points. I know Denver's offense has looked rough, but they're back at home. I think it's a situation where Sean Payton will get enough as far as coaching up Bo Nix to get the ball out of his hands, run the ball on this Giant defense. Don't try to throw it on this Giant defense. I think we get home with 7, guys. Can I get you both on board with the Broncos laying 7?
So
I'm on
you can
board.
get me on board with this. And I'm not going to bet this myself, but this line doesn't make any sense. Hear me out. You got the Denver Broncos at home. They're laying 7 to the New York Giants. What were they laying last week against the New York Jets in London?
Same number.
Same number. So you're asking yourself, how much better are the Giants than the Jets? It can't be. The disparity between those two teams can't be that wide. So if that's the case, this number is wrong. And when I look at my models, and I have 2 of them, I have one model that has more stuff in it. I actually make this Broncos minus 8.5. And then I look at the other model and I actually have this Broncos minus 12 or so. So even if you're just using the conservative number, 8.5, 9 seems like the right number. So I definitely agree with you on this. I do think it's a reality check for Jackson Dart and that Giants team. And, they lost to the Saints. They went in there, lost to the Saints. To me, if you look at that game against the Chargers, it said more about the Chargers and their offensive line issues than it said about the Giants to me. So I agree with this play.
Okay, so we're definitely throwing Denver minus 7 in. Raheem, who is your Ringer
I'm
107?
going to let you go first.
Hold
Me?
on a second, Ariel. Sorry to cut you off here. Do you like the Broncos as well?
I do. I said I agree.
Excellent. I love
I
that.
agree.
I
I
missed
think
that.
it's a great
I'm sorry.
spot. It's a sandwich spot for the Giants who have to go face the Eagles again next week after just facing them last week. It's perfect. And having to go to altitude while everyone's high on them, no thank you. Denver minus 7 for me as well. I'm going to leave the Chargers probably unless Raheem wants it. I'm going to leave it for the group one since we clearly all agree on
Yeah,
Chargers.
but which one do you like?
I'm
the
going to
best
throw
right
out
now?
Lions
I like both
minus
of them.
5.5.
I'm in on both.
I mean, it's your pick. So,
How
I
about
know.
this? Which one do you like more between Detroit and the Chargers?
who, me? Or
I'm going to. Well,
Ariel.
Ariel?
I'll do Detroit minus 5.5 against the injured Bucks because, as I said earlier when we broke down this game, even though Detroit's secondary is scarily hurt, the Bucks receiving core is scarily hurt. Now, I would feel worse if the Lions had their hurt secondary, in addition to then it just being like the running back or something for the Bucks, but it's not. The problem is that their receiving core is hurt. How are they going to attack the Lions secondary if they don't have receivers that we trust? I know they have Baker Mayfield. I just feel like this luck's going to run out in Tampa, and it's going to be in a great spot for Detroit, who's going into a bye after this. They're coming off an embarrassing loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of mistakes. I believe in the Lions being able to tighten up those mistakes going back at home where Goff is great. I'm going to take Detroit here minus 5.5.
I'm not mad at this one. I'm not mad. I like it. I just wish we had the injury news. Like that's the one thing
Gonna
about
have to
doing this
wait a
on
while for
Thursday.
that on a Monday night, no
Yeah,
question.
yeah, we're not gonna get that until Monday nights. But I do like this one.
What do you like, Raheem?
So I'm like wrestling between a few, but I think I'm gonna go with a one. I'm gonna go with one that I gave out on Monday. It's unfortunate that it moved, but I'm gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm gonna lay the 3.5 against the Houston Texans. To me, this Houston Texans offense is still anemic, and in reality, the two teams that they've beat, the Tennessee Titans, who fired their coach, and the Baltimore Ravens, who didn't have Lamar Jackson and were banged up on defense. So I think this is a good spot to sell high on the Houston Texans. And if you ask me, the Seattle Seahawks, if you look at DVOA right now, they're one of the best 4-2 teams of all time. Like all time. I'm not making this up, according to DVOA. So
Okay, go Sam
um,
Darnold.
I'm
Go.
gonna trust. I'm gonna trust that. I think we know the Houston Texans. They don't have a good offensive line. Seahawks, they sacked Trevor Lawrence 9 times last week. So I think CJ Stroud could be running
Well,
for.
that's what happens when you've got my former Ravens defensive coordinator as your head coach when you finally get a good defense. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how that works. That the same guy goes over to Seattle and makes a great defense, one of the best DVO. Great. The Ravens suck now because of it. Thank you. Whatever. I'm still better, but it's fine. I'll lay 3.5 with Seattle. I don't mind it. I think Houston has not been performing to standard at all. In fact, it's a big disappointment from a couple of years ago. We need a dog though, because we've got three favorites right now. Denver -7, Lions
Wow.
-5.5, Seattle -3.5. I'm giving you a dog. Dallas Cowboys, baby. Raheem, I know this is going to be hard for you because you're a Cowboys fan, and I know that it's hard to bet your team. I really like the Cowboys. You've already seen the line move from Washington -2.5 to -1.5 since it opened. Dallas 6-2 straight up, 7-1 against the spread in the last 8 meetings against the Commanders. They are number 3, the Cowboys, in scoring at just under 30 points a game. Washington struggled against the pass catching back last week. DeAndre Swift, 108 rushing yards, 67 receiving yards. Devontae Williams could do just that for the Dallas Cowboys. Scary Terry, he's missed the last 3 games with a quad injury. Still waiting to hear on him. I like the Cowboys as a home dog this week. I'm teasing them, and I'm throwing them out there for Ringer 107.
I can't argue with this one outside of the injuries for the Cowboys. That's the only thing.
I
Like
can.
that.
I can. I don't like Dallas at all in this game. I don't. Dallas's defense is atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious.
I think they could win a shootout, though.
They could, but Jaden Daniels is starting to get cooking. I know they ended up losing that game to the Chicago Bears on Monday night. I know you. I see how you're looking at the game, Ariel. You're seeing a home dog in the division, Washington off the short week. Like your logic with this one makes complete sense. I also watched that Dallas team. Just they're so bad on defense. So bad on defense. I save it. How about this? Let's table it. Let's go through a couple.
You have another
other
dog
games.
you like?
I got two.
I
Okay,
actually
go.
have. All right, Raheem, I have two too, but you go first.
All right. Minnesota Vikings
I agree.
+2 against the Eagles,
Yep.
and then also the New Orleans Saints.
We're on the same page. I like both.
All right, so I like the Viking one. The Saint one, maybe I have a little PTSD after taking them last week against the Patriots.
They can run the football against the Bears.
No,
The one thing that scares me about the Saints, and I said this last week when it comes to the New England Patriots. Sometimes a team is on the come up, and the numbers in the market
don't reflect it.
don't reflect it. And I'm starting to think that about the Chicago Bears. And look, the Chicago Bears, they've been very fortunate. And this is one of the reasons why I do kind of want to fade them, is that over the last 2 weeks, they've pretty much won based on turnovers. The Commanders had 3 turnovers. How many turnovers did the Raiders have? They won back-to-back games 25-24. And both teams turned the ball over 3+ times. So that
Caleb
tells you
Williams
that
is also 29th in passing success rate, and the Bears have been winning their games on the road, not even at home.
So like basically they've won these games. They won the last two games by a combined 2 points, and they've had like 7 turnovers in their favor. So like this is clearly a team that's not as good as how they've been performing. So that's why I want to fade the Bears. But I do think Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are on to something, and that's what kind of scares me here.
Let's stay off that game because I don't have a great feel for that one.
Yeah.
I
right,
love
so
Minnesota.
Vikings.
Now, here's the question with Minnesota, gang. Who's playing quarterback for the Vikings? Or do we care? Does it matter?
I mean, we don't have an answer for it yet, but either way,
You know what? We have 3 right now plus the Chargers, right?
We like the Chargers.
yeah, if we're gonna add in the Chargers if we all agree
Yeah, so
to
we
add
have
in the
we have
Chargers.
4.
But
So
we have 4 favorites. We need a dog.
Well, we're going to find a dog. I have another one I want to throw at you. It's really stinky, and I'm probably going to get mocked for it, but it's okay. What dog do you think I'm going to get mocked for right now? I'll let you guys guess.
Atlanta.
Arizona.
Not Atlanta. They're on bye. Arizona. No. Not going
Atlanta's
here.
not on bye. Atlanta plays San Francisco.
Oh, my mistake. I'm a dope. I'm thinking Buffalo. Atlanta is no. It's
Don't
not.
tell me you're taking the Jets.
Absolutely not. Friends don't let friends bet the Jets.
Well,
I
okay,
don't
so
care.
we're down to. I'm trying to figure out which other dogs you have left.
It's a big dog.
Not
Vegas.
Arizona.
Vegas.
Oh hell no.
No.
I knew you guys weren't going to do it. All I'm going to say is this. Remember I said this. They always play the Chiefs tough in Kansas City. I'm not saying they're going to win the game. Kansas City coming off an emotional. I'm just saying at 11.5, that game, I think Vegas is within the number. That's fine. I didn't expect a blessing on that one. I'm just throwing it out
What
there
about
for the
Minnesota?
audience.
You
then.
are right. As a favorite of a touchdown or more, Patrick Mahomes is 36 and 2 straight up. And he's 13, 24 and 1 against the spread. And if you look at his 2 straight up losses as a touchdown favorite since 2020, they've come against the Raiders.
Well, and bro, last year, you remember the Black Friday game? The Raiders should have won that game outright against the Chiefs on Black Friday if it wasn't for absolute incompetence at the end of the game. Look, Bowers not being 100% and Bowers maybe not being able to go. You're wondering where the meat is coming from Vegas offensively. You know that Spagnuolo and company are going to say, we're stacking the box. We're not letting Genti go off. We're going to dare Geno Smith to beat us, which could lead to 3 or 4 Geno Smith turnovers, which is, Ariel, I'm shocked you didn't throw that in there for your Queens corner. I thought maybe you'd have Geno Smith to throw an interception, which is
I don't
usually-
bet those.
You don't get involved with those. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Geno Smith right now. I mean, you're talking about a guy with a 5% turnover worthy
It's been
throw.
awful. It's been
Like
awful.
he literally is throwing interceptions every single week at this point in time. And he leads the league with 10 right now. So you kind of got to, I mean, look, they don't have Colton Miller on the offensive line. They don't have Brock Bowers. I actually think this is a scenario in which the Chiefs can blow them out. I don't necessarily want to lay 11.5, but I think last week was the spot where you take the Raiders. But like right now, I don't.
Yeah, we're not going to do it. Okay.
So do we like Minnesota as our dog?
I do like Minnesota. I do.
We don't know who the quarterback is, so I think we probably should leave that one off.
But I also think you're betting the game, regardless. If you like Minnesota, I don't think it's as much about the quarterback, Raheem. It's about an anti-Eagle play. To me, you're not betting on Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy. If you like Minnesota in this game, it's O'Connell, it's Flores, it's extra time to prepare, and the Eagles kind of being lost at sea at the moment. That, to me, is what you're betting on in the game.
That's fair. You know what though? I think there's so much injury stuff with this game that it's unfortunate we got to do this on Thursday.
Hey,
but
got to figure it out. That's
So
it.
then the
I-
only
I
other
kinda
dogs
would
we
rather-
could do
like,
is
I honestly would
Tennessee or
rather-
Jacksonville.
I would rather take Jacksonville than the Vikings at this
You're
point.
gonna
Okay.
make JJ go international?
I do like the Jags, but I do have a rule on international. Before we decide on that officially, I know there's another rule I've thrown out on the show. Friends don't let friends bet the Titans. However, they just fired their head coach, who is Bozo the Clown. I'm not trying to mock Brian Callahan, but he was the worst coach in the league, and his teams were just abominable against the spread. Where do we stand, Raheem, on the new coach, interim coach bump? The counter is Mike Vrabel is going to look to embarrass the Tennessee Titans because he has an axe to grind there. So, I don't
I
know.
think this is a game with a lot of variance. I think New England beats them by 14 or they lose outright. And you got to remember, New England lost to this team last year. So it's not only just Mike Vrabel, it's that motivation. It's the fact that New England lost to them last year. So this is kind of one I really want to stay off of.
Let's stay off of that one. Stay off of that one. Okay. We have to decide now. Are there any other underdogs we want to throw out?
I think we hit them all.
So I mean, right now, you didn't like the Saints.
No.
Minnesota, Jacksonville.
Ariel threw out Dallas. If I had to rank, and I don't want to go near San Fran.
Do we necessarily need a dog? Because I can actually think of another game that I think.
You want to go 5 favorites.
Who's the favorite, Raheem? Make the case.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I really can't believe I'm saying this, but I think you can make the case for Cleveland.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm not going to.
I'm just saying this slate is ugly. It's the ugliest.
You definitely can make the case for Cleveland. And we didn't mention this. The weather forecast in that game is going to be a joke. They're talking about heavy rain. They're talking about 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. I mean, that game, it's just going to be grotesque. The reason that we can't bet it, Raheem, the game is going to be so grotesque. Can't do it. Can't do it. I think if you're betting a game, though, it's Cleveland or pass. Guys, I think it comes down to Minnesota or Jacksonville for me. Those are the two I like the most out of anything that we just gave out. I'll leave it to you guys.
Raheem?
I'm leaning Jacksonville. I think this is the spot for Jacksonville.
Let's go Jacksonville.
All right, we are amending a rule, guys, gals.
If this doesn't hit, we don't have to do an international game the rest of the year.
That is the rule. We are taking the Jaguars, who have been very good to us this year. Very, very good to us. So that's why I think the Grinch here is allowing a little bit of change of heart here. I feel like I'm having my if I can change, you can change, anybody can change moment. Jacksonville is the play. But if we lose this one, Ariel, remember.
Never again.
More international games, please.
Never again. Okay, so Denver -7, Lions -5.5, Seattle -3.5, Chargers -1.5, Jags +3. Ugly slate this week, but Bodega Locks, we've got you covered. We are the team to beat. We are the best team in Ringer 107, which is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. And remember, odds are subject to change. Best bets time. We've got best bets. You can do them for today. You could do it for the weekend ahead. If you even have NBA stuff, Raheem, you could throw that out there too. Best bets. What you got?
All right, we're going to go with, because I know they want to have something for tonight. Let's go with the Steelers-Bengals over 44.5. Let's also go with T. Higgins over 45.5 receiving yards. I'll save some NBA for Monday.
That's right. Monday we'll be rocking same channel. Myself, Raheem Palmer, and Joe House. Joe House just spent a lot of time with Simmons and Zach Lowe, diving into every NBA over-under imaginable. We'll give you our favorite 5 on Monday's show. For me, Ariel, Thursday night best bet, Cincinnati Bengals plus the points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's keep the dog train rolling in these primetime games. And as far as Sunday is concerned, the Denver Broncos laying the 7. Humbling for Mr. Dart. Humbling for Mr. Scatterboo and the New York Giants. So Bengals plus the points, Broncos laying the points. Let's go.
I've got a prop for tonight. Pittsburgh quarterback Aaron Rodgers over 215.5 passing yards. He's averaged the second quickest time to throw in the NFL, quickest of his career since 2016. On passes under 2.5 seconds, Rodgers has completed 81% of his pass attempts, which is the 6th highest, and just over 8 yards per attempt, which is the 2nd most. Cincinnati, the defense has allowed a league high of just under 8 yards per attempt on quick passes this year, 8 touchdowns, which is 2nd most. They also allow the 3rd most passing yards per game to quarterbacks this year. 5 of the 6 quarterbacks to face Cincinnati went over 215.5, went over their passing yards prop. So I'm going over on Aaron Rodgers passing yards tonight for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going into baseball, Tyler Glasnow over 5.5 Ks. It's going to be late afternoon in LA. The shadows are going to help like it did in Glasnow's last start to go over his strikeout prop. Milwaukee's going to take the same approach Toronto did. They're going to be aggressive at the plate, but Milwaukee strikes out way more than the Toronto Blue Jays do on a regular basis. So they're going to get the over 5.5 Ks on Tyler Glasnow's case tonight, to which I don't like his outs because you never know with injuries and a rested bullpen. So he's just going to get Ks early against an aggressive Milwaukee team. That's all I've got for best bets. We also are here on the Ringer YouTube page, so you can go and look at what everyone else is betting going into the weekend. We've got NFL Week 7 here. We've got a lot of different guys coming up here on our Ringer gambling shows. Like tomorrow, we have Cousin Sal, Danny Heifetz, and Anthony DeBundo. We are sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. For Raheem Palmer, John Yastrzemski, I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein. We'll catch you guys next week.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 or older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG, 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York